Welcome to Shift School, where we talk with leaders about how to make small shifts that make huge impacts. I'm here with Gregg Riley today, who is the owner of Riley Success Coaching. I'm so excited. Gregg, you have a long history of leadership, and tell us about some of those leadership impacts that have brought you to your coaching business today.
Okay. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm
Uh,
excited to have you on
so
here.
so I've held different leadership roles over my career of 30 plus years. Individual contributor roles where, you don't have to have the title to be a leader, but also led teams of, 100 plus managers and stuff like that. Um, Early on in my career, I was working for a startup company and we were having some issues with um, parts being returned. And so the directors told me to build a team to go do that. So I built a team of one besides myself. So we were a team of two together.
Hmm.
And so while I was leading that person, Steve, um, the first experience that comes to mind about leadership and small shifts was we had a blizzard and I got up early. I shoveled my driveway and I drove into the office and I was on time. Steve showed up 3.5 hours later.
Mm.
And I said, "Where have you been?" He goes, "It snowed last night." I said, "Yeah, we knew it was going to snow. I got up early, shoveled my driveway, and came to work.
Mm.
Why didn't you do that?" And he looked at me and says, "You're an ass," and walked away.
Mm.
And that took me by surprise. But
Yeah.
what it brought out in me was not everybody's like me.
Mm.
And and from there, I learned to be more in tune with what the people were doing that were doing the work.
Yeah.
And um, and that showed up multiple times in my career. Um, I was I managed teams. I managed this one team, and I'll give you a quick story about them. That they wanted to do a 4x10 schedule. Now
Okay.
I managed the people, not the performance of the team. Right. In other words, I didn't manage by metrics. I managed by people and how people do and work. Right. I think my job as a leader is to remove roadblocks so that
Mm-hmm.
my people are successful.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this team wanted to do a 4x10 schedule, and we were a 24/7 organization. And so I asked the guy that was really interested in doing that to build out a schedule. But I told him that he can't force people to work that schedule. If they want to work their normal 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, they stay in that schedule. But to make it work, we have to make sure we cover all of our hours. So he came back with a plan. And I looked at him, I said, "Excellent, go make it happen."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Aren't you going to manage it?" I said, "No, it's your plan. You manage it." And my peers, leaders came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "They want to work a 4x10. So I'm making them work a 4x10. They're managing it." And one of my next door office mates, managers, was like, "You're out of control." I'm like, "No, I'm not. We'll watch and see if the performance numbers change, then I'll make changes." But they never
Mm-hmm.
did. They got better, actually.
Yeah.
So, so that created the reputation for me in the company where people said that I'm a good manager to work for, a leader. As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, the manager next door to me, one of his employees, came to me, asked me to make a position for him
Wow.
because he hated working for his manager.
Mm.
And there's a lot of logic behind that because his manager was writing him up for performance reviews, performance problems, because this engineer happened to be dealing with a pregnant wife who had cancer,
Mm.
and eventually she gave birth to the baby, but she died.
Oh.
And this guy was a wreck, and his manager could care less. His
Mm.
manager was all about the numbers.
Yeah.
So it generated in me the leadership style where I'm here to serve the people that work for me. I'm not here to dictate the work that they do.
Yeah.
They're the experts. They know what they need to do.
When I talk about leadership, there's there's five different things I talk about that I've all the research that I've done, uh, the five main traits of a good leader. The first one is empathy. So what you're talking about is that empathetic piece, like understanding that they're humans. I love that. I wrote down that you manage people, not metrics. And so many leaders, in my experience, I don't know how many, I don't have statistics on it, but really are looking at the metrics piece. And if you don't hit X, Y, and Z, we forget that all of us are humans and we have life every day. And life, yeah, can throw us some curveballs. We can't all be perfect. So I love that. I love that you also say serving because that is so important when we look at people like, how can I be here to help you? And when I first got into management, uh, I was so excited because I was like, we're going to lead the team in this really awesome. We had these great goals, this strategic plan. I'd never been a manager before. I'd been a classroom teacher for however many years, but that's not really the same equivalent to managing adults. Um, I can't just tell them to sit down and be quiet. So when we're looking at the strategic plan, I'm really excited. But then all these other things started popping up. And I went to talk to my boss who had promoted me to that position. I said, what do I need to do? And he goes, oh, I didn't tell you that, management is like 50% or more people. Like, no, which I can handle. I love people, but I thought we had to move this project forward and taking a step back and looking at those who are actually doing the work and how can I support you makes such a huge difference. So I'm going to guess that you've seen really great leadership and not so great leadership, and it probably shaped you from what I know about you from some of the conversations we've had. What are some of the tips you would give to leaders who are out there right now, either brand new in their role or maybe have been around for a while? Some some great things for them to think about.
So, understanding the individuals as well as the team,
Mm.
right? I managed, and like I said earlier, I managed organizations that were 24 by 7. And I would actually get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning
Mm.
and go to the office and hang out with the engineers during that shift to see what's going on in their world. Like I knew one of the engineers was going to get his PhD in communications. So I connected him with our communications organization within the company so that he could grow that skill set since he's going to school for it. Even though he worked for me, I connected him with other people and then moved him
Mm.
along to those roles. Um,
Mhm.
Early on in my career, I was attending a Dale Carnegie class
Oh yeah.
program. And side note, I'm a Dale Carnegie graduate assistant all the time now. I've been doing it for 20, 30 years. Uh,
Yeah.
and he was an executive for, I want to say GE or GTE. And he gave me a question that I use that's very scary for a leader to use. And that
Yeah.
is, what have I done to prevent you from being successful in the last week?
Mm.
Now, the first time I ever posed that question, I had a really spunky engineer named Cindy. And Cindy looked at me and says, what do you mean by that question?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to figure out? And
Mm. That was a
this
trick.
was in a team meeting. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the best. I'm not even close. I make mistakes every day. So I'm asking you to tell me what my mistakes are. And so then they created a whole list of mistakes. And I wrote them on the whiteboard. I put them in an email. I said, this is what I heard. These are the mistakes that you said that I made this week. Here's the action steps I'm going to do to fix those. And if I don't do them, call me out on it. It's fair game. So I did that. I would ask that questions every because this was a brand new team for me. I would ask it every 3 or 4 weeks,
Mm,
and then about 3 months into leading that team, I hate the word manager, but everybody uses it. But three
yeah.
months leading that team, I asked the question again, and Cindy asked me, "What have we, as your team, done to
Mm,
prevent you from being successful?"
mm. That's a huge trust bridge right there.
Yeah, I that's when I knew that we're on the same page and we're driving for the same things. Now, going back to metrics for a minute, it is important to keep your eye on your metrics, but don't drive your people to meet the metrics. Drive the systems that the people execute to meet the metrics.
Hmm.
Right? It's
Hmm.
if you have the right systems in place and the people are doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're happy doing it,
Hmm.
then you'll meet those numbers. You'll meet the metrics all the time.
Yeah, that's that's really good advice for leaders out there. I have found in my own teams in the past that when they like being on the team, they feel like they can trust you, they're trusted by the team, they know the vision, it's quite clear. They just perform better anyways. They enjoy being there. They enjoy working together with their team. So yeah, that's great. So you don't have to push metrics. Just making sure that you take care of the human element can naturally feed into that, and then being the good leader and helping them find that direction. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me, so I know you have one book I've seen, and you have another one in the works, but tell me about your the well, People Are Strange. Is it People Are Strange?
People are strange.
People are strange. Tell me about this. How did this come about? What would I learn? Well,
So let me start off by saying, and I made a note so that I make this right.
yeah.
But the next conversation you walk into
Mm-hmm.
at work, in personal life, out in the public, right? I wrote down next conversation you walk into today with a team member, your kid, or your spouse. Ask one real question and then do the hard thing.
Mm,
Actually stay there for the answer. And what do I mean by that? I mean, don't load up your response.
mm-hmm.
Don't try and fix whatever the question was asked. Just be present, silent, and listen.
Yeah.
One of the challenges we have in society in general is pause to listen and not respond right away. Right? It's back in the very early in my career, I had to go to the Far East, and one of the things that I was taught by a consultant was when somebody hands you a business card, especially in the Japanese culture back then, you hold the business card with two hands and you read it and you pause, and that's the impression that you're digesting it and
Mm,
understanding the person that's behind that card.
mm,
So I think the pause and listen and don't. So many people, the first thing they want to do is respond.
right.
They, as I said,
And
they load up their response.
yeah, it can't be a gotcha. It can't be a I'm asking you so that I can have my retort or my defense.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, so that minor shift in the way you have conversations should bring deeper conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you listen and truly listen, then you can create a response or another question to go deeper.
Yeah. That
And one,
vulnerability really can create some incredible trust in a relationship, it sounds like.
yeah, and one of the things that in my book, I have what I call the uh, conversation adventure, if it's really for networking events and stuff like that, but it's built on an image, right? Here's a house. So you start off with, oh, do you live around here? And in front of the house is a big work glove. Well, what kind of work do you do?
Mm,
Do you find that interesting? And then on the chimney, there's a plane sticking on the top of the chimney, and it's, do you like to travel? And then
mm,
when you look at the plane, instead of having engines, it's got like tennis rackets or golf clubs. Well, what kind of sports do you like? So you create a conversation around the person, not the typical networking event. Oh, so what do you do for work? Who do you work for? You know,
mhm,
and you can ask it more exciting questions. What's exciting about the work you do? You don't even have to
mhm.
ask them who they work for. You just say what's exciting about the work you do.
Yeah.
You know, and so the book People Strange is an accumulation of all of my thoughts and conversations with different people over the years and how to have really good conversations. There's a
Hmm.
section in the book that I call "Everyone Has a Ghost in Their Closet."
Yeah.
Right? There are places that are taboo that if somebody doesn't answer it, don't keep digging.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
know, it's not an
Hmm.
investigation; it's a conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think that's helped me out tremendously in my career.
No, that's great. That's great tips. Especially what I've learned traveling across the US is the culture is different. So some things are acceptable to talk about in different places or across the world, I suppose, where you don't talk about that in other places. So that's a really good tip. Then you come across as wanting to be there to have a conversation and not just digging for personal information and making people uncomfortable.
That's right. Like one of the things I say in the book is when you ask somebody where do they live, you don't say where do you live, you say do you live around here,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Not where do you live?
Right.
You
What's your
know,
address?
oh, you live on that street? What number?
Mm. Hmm. Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
But but it goes back to leadership, right? Leadership is about having conversations,
Hmm.
and you got to do it frequently and deliberately.
Hmm.
Like one of the things I learned when I was managing a very large organization, I hired a coach because I got a call one day from my mother. And she says, Greg, did you read my email? I said, Mom, I get 150 emails a day at work that they expect me to read. So I didn't
Hmm.
read your email yet. So I hired a coach to help me navigate some stuff. One of the things that I was doing was I was thrashing between meetings and conversations with people.
Hmm.
And so my coach gave me this tip. If you came up to me, Lisa, and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something," I would say, "Is this going to be like a 5 minute talk, or do we have to really have a good conversation about it?" And
Hmm.
you might say, "We need to have a good conversation about it." And I would say, "It's my intention to give you my attention.
Hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
book the time on my calendar and make sure we get that attention done." And that way, there you're heard,
Hmm.
and we may push it off, but we get it organized so that we can have that really one-on-one conversation without interruptions.
Hmm.
And I thought
That's really powerful.
it's a good way to manage the relationships. And the other thing that I learned was if I know and I can't tell you, I will tell you that I know and I can't tell you.
Hmm.
It's just part of the role of being a senior leader.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that trust piece. I mean, being honest is very important. But so don't say things that aren't true because you're trying to keep things that you can't talk about.
Right.
Um, I've seen many leaders who have made big announcements on things that were inaccurate and they knew it because in the following days or weeks, the actual plan came out and it erodes trust for sure. Makes it
Yeah.
difficult to be in a team. That's great. If I came to you and said, "Hey, I need to talk," and you scheduled that time, that's so powerful because it means you value me, you value my time, you value your time, and you're going to give. more intention to it. So I would really appreciate that. So that's a great leader tip as well. So as we're wrapping up today, you gave us some really good shifts. So pick one of them. What's one small shift that leaders can start making now that will start making that huge impact in their teams and what they're doing? And even if for those of our listeners who may not have a team yet, you have family, you have friends, you have circles that you are in, maybe you're a coach. Um, yeah, what's a small shift or what's one of the ones that you gave? I wrote down a few uh, to reiterate.
Yeah, so I'll give you a tip that I coached the CEO um, last summer
Hmm.
in the winter, and one of the things that he was struggling with was his home life. And I said, you have to walk in the door and find out who you need to be.
Mm.
So I asked him to ask his wife, what does she need him to be? So that's tip number one if you're dealing with some challenges and that stuff. But the
Hmm.
most important one, I think, for anybody, anywhere, you don't have to be a leader to do it, is to ask a question and be quiet.
Mm.
Right? It shows that you're curious, it shows that you're interested, and
Hmm.
it shows that you care.
Yeah, that's so good.
And that's what builds trust as a leader or as a person. And like I said at the beginning, you don't have to have a title to be a leader.
It's true. Yeah, people are looking up to you wherever you go, whatever you're doing, looking to see how you're going to respond and how you're going to act. Greg, great tips today. I'm really excited to go back through and write out. I wrote down some notes. Um, what have I done to prevent you from being successful this last week? That's huge. I did start asking my teams that. What's one thing I can improve on? But then I had to make a promise with myself that I couldn't get mad or offended and had to work on that. Asking that one question, the real question. Uh, and I love that. So asking a question, taking a moment to pause, and then,
And
yeah,
listen.
listen and listen. All right. Well, if you want to hear more from Greg, he has a newsletter he sends out weekly. You can give him a
Email
call.
me. You can email me at gnr3726@gmail.com,
Yeah,
or you
I'll
can
put that
call
in the
me.
show notes as well. You can grab the book. It's on Amazon, right?
Yes, it is on Amazon. The workbook,
Okay.
there's two versions. One's a workbook, and the workbook has exercises in it that you can practice.
Well, that's great. That's so needed. All right, listeners, you heard it here. Ask the question and be willing to listen. So go make the shift. Have a
It's been
great
an
day.
honor, Lisa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.